evening and welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Debate with Sam Tate, brought to you by Fantasy Focus and Original Shooters. I'm Sam Holt, joined as always by my wonderful co-host, Derek Tate. Derek, how are you on this wonderful Wednesday?
You know, one of these days when I'm recording here at the office, I'm going to put a Superman shirt on underneath and just something like that. But I'm feeling quite super though. 5-1 in my 6 leagues.
Hey.
And I'm off to a good start, off and running. And the one league I lost in, it was not that bad. I was like the 5th highest scoring team. So
nice.
bad matchup, but
that's
pretty good.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like I was pretty even across the board across my leagues. I have to go back and recount because I have a league in every platform you can have a league. So it's a task to get through all of those lineups. But I did okay. The one league that I wish I'd had squeaked out a win, I was up against Derrick Henry, and you know, you have to have a big buffer when it comes to points against Derrick Henry. And he didn't have the best game, but he also had a defender that was for Tennessee, so like that is really what put it off. But you know, I always like to have a comfortable lead when I don't have any players left, and I didn't have that, so it is what it is. But I had like you said, I was glad that I had a very high scoring team. It was one of those dynasty leagues where you hope and plan a roster, and like the people that you needed to hit, they all hit. So it was like going to school and realizing, hey, everyone showed up. This is good.
The fantasy gods were with me. I needed about 9 points in a standard heading into the second half of the final Monday Night Football game, and I had Melvin Gordon. I was like, there's no way I'm going to win this. It's a split backfield with him and Phillip Lindsay, and then all of a sudden, Lindsay's out for the rest of the game. Melvin Gordon has a big second half, and I come away with a victory that I don't feel like I deserve. But I got it, so I'll take it.
You know what? A win's a win, and that's all that matters. Thanks, guys, for joining us. We got Dried Ocean in the comments. RIP to my team. I traded for Michael Thomas and Chubb for Kittle and Hill right before he got injured. Ouch. That's a brutal start. There's a lot of red in a lot of my leagues, and it is not pretty. We will get to a lot of those injuries as well. We got Will Jenkins joining us. What up? What up, guys? If you have any questions, please throw them in the comments. Derek and I will get to them as soon as we can. We know we got a game tomorrow, Bengals Browns. We will cover that as well. So let's just jump right into it. The big news is injuries. And week 1, there was a plenty.
Yeah, that would be one way to put it. That's very kindly, very modest. I mean, we've already seen Marlon Mack. Marlon Mack's probably the biggest one, strictly because he's done out for the year with an Achilles injury, and that really clears the way for obviously Jonathan Taylor, but really Nyheim Hines is someone that I know this is Wednesday night, so your waivers have already probably came and went. But if Nyheim Hines is somehow still floating around there on the waiver wire, go get him. I think he's going to have a pretty solid role for the rest of the year. And I thought he was pretty damn good in week 1, even though, I mean, the Jags beat the Colts. Like, what the hell is going on? It's 2020. This is weird.
It is a weird year. And there was a lot of games that kind of went sideways, I think, on a few teams. And I think that it was just a result of the craziness, a result of not having a ton of practice. We're going to be seeing, unfortunately, I don't want to predict it, but probably more injuries just because obviously these players haven't had that immediate contact, that immediate competition that they do in practice. Game script is way different. So we're probably going to be seeing a lot more of that. But yeah, so I was going to say, I mean, between Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines, if you had to choose a back to own, which would you prefer?
Oh, it's definitely Taylor. I mean, Taylor is going to be the preferred back, the early down work back. And I think that this is still a team, even though they disappointed against the Jags, they should still be able to dominate a lot of units up front and be able to impose their will running the football, which Jonathan Taylor is a downhill runner and fits what they want to do there in Indianapolis very, very, very well. It just didn't work out that way in week number 1. It was a weird week, but I mean, Marlon Mack, I got to feel for the guy. I mean, like, he's on a contract year, and they clearly didn't want him as their back moving forward. And he may have just cost himself a couple $1 million because now he's hitting that free agent market as a running back and no guaranteed payday with coming off of a torn Achilles.
No, for sure. But the positive, I think, right now for him is just that with an Achilles injury, there's just a lot of advancement in those types of surgeries. So I do feel like, the year off, he is going to be able to come back. He's going to come back strong and he will be fine, probably with another team. But he's someone that, you could probably get really cheap next year.
A prove-it deal. Yeah, he's going to get a prove-it deal.
Injury, absolutely. He's going to, I think, outplay his ADP next year. And so let's not forget about poor little Marlon Mack. Let's definitely not forget about it.
It's unfortunate. But no, I mean, I definitely give me Taylor, though, of those two options between him and Hines.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We've got more people joining us in the chat. We've got Tommy Garrett. Wait, Sam is in a new place. Yes, I'm no longer recording in my closet. I have a new room now, and the background will continue to change as I, nest in my new space and make the studio awesome. So, because when podcasting is all you do in your free time, you need a whole room for it, right?
You've got a better podcasting cave than I do. Mine's constantly changing. I'm at the office right now in the student studio. So, and I need to put something on the back screen here, maybe like a Fantasy Focus logo in the future. You never know.
We should have you do the weather report like you're in these different places. God.
There's a green screen wall right over there, and I got to prepare for that shit. I'm not Buck. I can't roll off the top of the dome doing a weather report.
No, one of these weeks we have to get you with a Doppler report behind you, and then when people come across the Periscope and they just see the thumbnail, like, is Tate doing weather? That'd be amazing. We got Kevin S. joining us too. I'm here, guys. Talk to me on my half-hour drive home. Happy to talk football to you, Kevin. Thank you for tuning in.
Hi, Kevin.
Next injury to talk about has to be George Kittle. I mean, it's a bummer for him to get dinged up at any point. So he did, I believe it's a sprain. So it's not as bad as it could be, but he's their number one pass catcher. They're going to play it safe with him. I do not think he's going to play this week.
Well, he's playing against the New York Jets, and they really didn't show a whole lot of life against the Buffalo Bills. You would expect that the 49ers could probably rest George Kittle and still get away with getting a win. But, I mean, the 49ers are 0-1. Super Bowl hangover is a real thing, and they gave up I don't know exactly how many points it was in the fourth quarter, but
it was bad.
They gave up a lead and ended up losing the game to Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. And right now their pass catching group is decimated if they don't have Kittle.
Absolutely. I mean, who is the possible next man up to stand to benefit from these targets? I mean, even Brandon Ayuk was, dinged up this past week. There's no more questionable next to his name. So I believe that he practiced. Is he going to see a big uptick? Or could we see Raheem Mostert maybe getting targeted more?
I mean, generally, the way that I like to look at things when it comes to injured primary pass catchers on either at tight end or wide receiver, a lot of times those targets seem to get absorbed up out of the backfield. And we saw over half of Jimmy Garoppolo's completions this past game went to running backs. I mean, it went to Mostert. Mostert was the leading receiver along with Kittle at 4 receptions. He just had 95 yards because he had that one big touchdown. But, Kyle Juszczyk, Jerick McKinnon was involved pretty heavily. I mean, even Tevin Coleman he was limited, but still caught a pass out of the backfield. So I think it's Jordan Reed, though, believe it or not. Jordan Reed is probably the guy that I think if you're really looking for an under the radar tight end play, even in DFS, Jordan Reed's actually the guy that I would like to sneak or scoop up for this week against the Jets.
At the Jets, I feel like it's a friendly matchup. Like you said, there wasn't a lot of bite in the Jets this past weekend. Mm-hmm. So hopefully that's a sneaky play and we can get, I love that for DFS. He's got to be cheap for that. That'll be interesting to see right before we record on Sunday morning.
Yeah, I mean, and we're talking Kendrick Bourne, Trent Taylor. I don't want to start any of the wide receivers for the 49ers, though. I mean, I don't know what to expect. I don't want anything to do with it. I will go with Jordan Reed, though, who even caught 2 passes and, only 19 completions and however many passes that Jimmy Garoppolo threw. So, yeah, give me Jordan Reed.
Love it. Thanks again, guys, for joining us. We've got Cocaine and Waffles, our favorite handle name. Thanks again for joining us, saying what up. We've got Will Jenkins saying, stick with Renfro or drop him for Mike Williams, Robbie Anderson, or Paris Campbell. I really like Paris Campbell. I know we just talked about the Colts a little bit, but I think that he's someone that could see a big uptick. What about you?
I'm all aboard the Paris Campbell hype train. I believe he was right there with T.Y. Hilton for most targets on the team with 9. He played predominantly out of the slot, which gives him a two-way go, and he can also get vertical. I mean, there's a lot to love about Paris Campbell vibing with P. Riv this early in the season. So, but honestly, I would drop Hunter Renfrow for any of those guys you just named. Take your pick. I really liked Mike Williams with Tyrod Taylor because he likes to push the ball vertically down the football field and even got a red zone target or two, if I'm not mistaken. And then Robbie Anderson. I mean, he had a damn good week 1 in a Joe Brady system that features 3 wide receivers on a regular basis. So any of those guys I like a lot more than Hunter Renfrow.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, for me, I do love Teddy Bridgewater. I'm glad that they had such a great game. Just, in the stats department, and like there was a lot to love about that game and how well that system worked. And I think for me, there was a lot of questions and wait and see on how this offense was going to function together. And I loved how much they spread the ball around. So I do like Robbie Anderson in that list as well. But yeah, I completely agree. I would drop Hunter Renfrow for sure. We've also got TS joining us in the comments. Do you guys like Hines after this week at flex? I picked him up after losing Bell. I also have James White in PPR.
I would start with Nyheim Hines over James White right now. I just don't know. I mean, we will see probably the New England Patriots throwing the ball a little bit more than they had to against the Miami Dolphins when they played the Seattle Seahawks this upcoming week. But I mean, Hines had a role before Mack even got hurt. Mm-hmm. So for that reason, yeah, give me Nyheim Hines a little bit more so than James White this week.
I have to agree with that as well. I mean, and not that really crowd noise is a thing, but they are at home, so they don't have to travel. Which
it's so weird to talk about. Like, oh yeah, well they won on the road. Well, there was no one there, so.
Nobody there. That's kind of awkward. But I mean, what was the one team that actually had fans in the stands was Jacksonville, and they were home, and they actually benefited from the little crowd noise they had, right?
The 2 teams that are allowed to have fans in the stands for week 1 are 2-0. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, I mean, and I don't want to go too much off on a tangent, but what about Minshew? Minshew had 1 incompletion the entire game and looked like efficient. I mean, I know he wasn't pushing the ball vertically down the field that much, but the dude had a really good game. And, all those plans for the Jacksonville front office that want to tank for Trevor Lawrence completely threw him a monkey wrench, and they're 1-0.
It's like he took the game script knowing that this tank for Trevor is a thing and said, you know what? I'm not going to let this happen. And he just put the team on his back, and, Minshew Mania continues.
Yep, that's the game plan right there from Gardner Minshew, just ripping it up.
Oh, we're going to lose? I didn't get that memo. That was my bad. Did you get the right number? Did you miss a digit in the facts? Yeah.
God, that was really dumb. I just ripped up my week 2 rankings. Damn it. I'm gonna have to rewrite them now.
Get a prop piece of paper for that.
I got a little overzealous there. I saw the opportunity for a joke and I just went for it.
I mean, I do the same, so I don't blame you. We've got Dried Ocean as well. I wasn't able to get Goddard, but should I drop Gesicki for Logan Thomas, Olsen, or OJ Howard?
Logan Thomas, believe it or not, feels like maybe the best option of all those. I thought he played really well, with Dwayne Haskins against the Eagles and such. So, yeah, I mean, I'd be okay with dropping Gesicki for Logan Thomas, but personally, I'm higher on Gesicki. And if they are going to be missing Devontae Parker, I'll probably hold off on it for a week just to see if Gesicki's targets jump up a little bit. And they played the Patriots this past week. So
they had a really rough matchup. I would, if you can, I know waivers just processed, like you said, you didn't get Goddard. Maybe wait a week, see how it goes, and then maybe reassess. But I feel like there's better things ahead for Gesicki. I think that there's far too much opportunity for him, for immediate targets, for immediate workload, for immediate fantasy goodness. So I wouldn't really hold off and pass the buck on him quite yet. I don't think so. We got
sucks
first,
that he has another tough matchup this week.
Yeah,
another tough matchup this week against the Bills.
Yeah, that is. I mean, if you can drop someone else and pick, that's tough. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's not ideal either way. I would probably roll with Gesicki for another week though.
Yeah, hold on a little bit longer. We've got first round bust asking Goddard or Ingram or Waller to start this week. Do you have a favorite? I feel like Goddard might be the favorite for me on that list.
It feels like a trap to go with Goddard, but
It's a trap.
Yeah, like the Admiral Akbar. Thank you. I forget that I'm not talking to Levy, who's never seen a Star Wars movie in his life.
This is why we're friends.
How the hell does that happen where you haven't seen a Star Wars movie? Like not one?
I had someone at work ask me yesterday, like it was dead quiet, and then he says, "Hey, are there any nerds here?" I raised my hand. He said, "The Mandalorian trailer's out," and I was like, "What?" And I just immediately dropped everything I was doing to go watch the Mandalorian trailer. So you're speaking to your people. I get it. I mean, if we're going back to tight ends really quick, I could talk about Star Wars forever. I think we should have a separate podcast about it. However, sticking with tight ends, Dallas Goddard was the leader in targets past week. So, I mean, that's a thing.
He's always got the talent. It's just, with Zach Ertz there, I just feel like it's always going to cap him a little bit as far as the ceiling goes. But I will say this, Zach Ertz, it's no secret that he wants a new contract. Mm-hmm. And right now, if he's getting outperformed by the other tight end on the roster, it's going to be hard for Zach Ertz, to actually have any leverage to get that deal done. So I would be fine if you want to roll with Goddard this week. That's totally cool. If you want to play Darren Waller against the Saints, I think that the Raiders could definitely be playing from behind, and Waller's going to have I imagine a pretty probably right around 10 targets this week.
Yeah.
So I would probably go lean either one of those two before the third option in Evan Ingram.
I agree. I think it goes Goddard, Waller, and then Ingram in that order. But I think that you're kind of hovering around the same as well.
I'm going Waller probably first, then Goddard, and then Ingram.
Well, so we kind of half agree.
We have agreed.
It doesn't happen all the time. We got to take it where we can. We've got FTD34 joining us as well. Thanks, guys. Again, we will get to all these comments. I promise we will. He's asking, should I trade Josh Jacobs and Stephon Diggs for Devontae Adams and Marquise Brown?
I wouldn't, but I don't think it's a terrible question. I mean, Devontae Adams just went bonkers in week 1. Aaron Rodgers looks like he is playing with a chip on his shoulder, saying, okay, you want to go ahead and draft my replacement? I'm going to go ahead and give you the middle finger every time I walk on the field and prove you made a big mistake. Yeah. I mean, he was great in week 1. It was a masterpiece, but I personally wouldn't do that. I mean, Josh Jacobs what else do you want from Josh Jacobs in week 1?
Was phenomenal. I mean, as someone that has Josh Jacobs in my quintessential favorite dynasty league, he is my ride or die. He's my boy. And when I watched him blow it up, and then I had my Aaron Jones also blow it up in touchdowns, I was like, this is the best day ever.
I mean, one of the more encouraging things is last year, I think that Jacobs failed to catch 25 passes. Week 1, he caught 4. So, I mean, if you're giving me at least a mild floor for pass catching on a weekly basis, plus what he's doing on the ground, yeah, Jacobs has the recipe for a top 5 fantasy back, and I don't want to trade that right now.
No, absolutely not. And I mean, with Stephon Diggs this week, I think that he's a good matchup. But season long, I would prefer Jacobs and Diggs, although I totally get it. And if you can make a trade for Adams, again, like Tate said, He's got Aaron Rodgers, who, again, has a chip on his shoulder, and he's going to be top 3 wide receiver this year, probably top. I think that you could easily make an argument that he would be the number 1 receiver by the end of the year.
Hollywood looked really good, though, too. So I get why it's tempting, but I would probably just stay the course with Jacobs and Diggs.
Although I think it's different if you have other running backs that you can rely on. So if this is a situation where you definitely need a receiver, then I would say make this trade. But we don't know who else you have at running back, so this is
in a vacuum, we're going Jacobs and Diggs.
Absolutely. Cocaine and Waffles with a question for us. I'm good at running back and wide receiver, but I'm greedy. Hey, we all are. We all want the fantasy points. Should I bid high for either Darius Slayton or Malcolm Brown in free agency? I mean, if you can put the bid in, I would put a bid in on both. I think we saw a lot of success for Slayton. Obviously, with Tate still out, he's still going to see that workload and volume. So maybe when Golden Tate comes back, that drops off a tiny bit. But he's a big playmaker. I've got him in Dynasty as well, and he was on my bench sitting pretty, shining and sparkling there.
I know. He sat on my bench, too, in one of my Dynasty leagues, and he's been promoted. Let's put it that way. Mostly because Michael Thomas got hurt, but he's in the starting lineup now. He's earned his way. He's earned himself some PT on my team. But no, in all seriousness, I would probably splurge on Slayton before I would Malcolm Brown. Standard league, Malcolm Brown, maybe he seems like he's going to be a threat inside the 5-yard line. And if he plays like he did again, or like he did in week 1 for the next 2 weeks or so, we may see him spearhead that committee. But
the job is up for the taking. It's just who's going to perform the best at the position given the opportunity. And I think he did really well, obviously, with his opportunities this week.
Yeah. No, he did. He was great. It's just I think that Darius Slayton has something really cooking with Daniel Jones, and they did that against the Pittsburgh defense, which is a very solid unit. Yeah. They have to run the gauntlet to start the year, but I think the Giants are going to be throwing the ball quite a bit. They're going to be playing from behind a lot, and it looks like to me that Slayton is the best big play option that they have. So I think you're going to see more of the same from Darius Slayton and Daniel Jones for the rest of the year. Maybe not 102 tutties every week, but you're going to see a lot of big plays from Slayton.
Absolutely. And off of that, really quick, before we get to the next question, you brought up Daniel Jones and how he performed against the Steelers defense, which, I mean, not to brag about my Steelers defense, but it was amazing. I think that says a lot about Daniel Jones, and I feel like, I'm not kicking myself because I faded him in a lot of leagues, but he's someone that I think is going to outplay expectations, at least my expectations. I know that other people were high on him. I'm fine with admitting that I wasn't. But considering what he did against that defense and how, explosive Slayton was with him against that defense, I think there's a lot of green skies again ahead of him.
They couldn't run the football, so it was pretty much all on Daniel Jones to try to keep this team competitive, and he did for the most part. I mean, it took like a last second touchdown at the end of the first half from James Washington, where he, basically muscled 3 different defenders to get into the end zone to take the lead. No, it's like he told him get in the gym, like get on my level, son. But
he powered through. When you use the term "power through," that's the clip that comes up. You just powered through.
Yeah, he was dragging defenders, but from an X's and O's standpoint, when it comes to Daniel Jones, real quick, I thought that long touchdown pass he threw to Slayton, it's called a Yankee concept, where they run a post by the wide receiver and normally a deep over by the tight end. They ran it against cover 3. Daniel Jones got pressure vertically up the field from the 2 outside rushers, climbed the pocket, kept his eyes on the tight end, brought Minkah Fitzpatrick down to bite, and then dropped a pun intended, dime 41 yards to Darius Slayton. Like, he did some high level things that make me feel very confident that once his schedule softens up a little bit and they can complement it with a run game, you're going to see some very good things from Daniel Jones.
I agree. TS also with another question. Do you guys think Godwin will play this week? If not, my options are Deontay Johnson, who is questionable, CeeDee Lamb, or Anthony Miller.
Ooh, those are actually some pretty good options, and I don't think Godwin is going to play. I mean, he took like an unnecessary high hit. I forget which Saints defender it was that clipped him on the head, but yeah, I think that they're going to probably play it safe. They're playing the Panthers this week. I think that they should handle business against Carolina. So those other options, give me CeeDee Lamb. I thought Lamb was great in his debut.
Yeah, I agree. I thought he was fantastic. And I think that it kind of answered a lot of those questions of, how can Dak feed this many receivers? It's Dak Prescott. He's going to make it work. He's a make it work guy. And I think that CeeDee Lamb is just too athletic a beast to contain. So of those, I do love CeeDee Lamb a lot. I wouldn't try and swap a questionable player with another questionable player just for my peace of mind. So
me too. I mean,
Deontay Johnson, if he's got a Q, go with someone who doesn't have red next to their name. Just, we'll make it a little bit easier. So of those, I agree. CeeDee Lamb is definitely my favorite there as well. First round bust with a drying tight end market. Would you take a risk on Dalton Schultz starting now since Jarwin got hurt?
I mean, if you're desperate at tight end, then yeah, I guess. But I imagine there's got to be some other options, unless you're just in a crazy, wacky, deep league with a tight end premium or something where the market is dry. Yeah. There's got to be some better options out there. First round bust.
There's got to be another body out there, or you just got to wait it out for Chase Claypool to get the designation of tight end, and then you're okay.
In ESPN, you can actually get Taysom Hill. As your tight end. Yeah. And with no Michael Thomas, that's actually an interesting
really good.
That's actually an interesting way to go about it. Actually, that's what thankfully I'm not with Levy or Bucks because I'm all ESPN leagues with them. So I'm probably going to make that move just to stash them away on my bench.
Okay, well, hopefully they're not listening in, so then they won't know about these things.
Exactly.
But they always sneak in here, and we love it, and that's okay. Victor J saying, "What up, champs? What up, Victor? Thanks for joining us." And Will saying, "Goddard or Higbee this week, full PPR." I know Will's asking us this question to get us riled up.
I mean, yeah, I know it hurts, but and it hurts me to say this, but after what I saw Goddard do last week, I'd give him the nod before Higbee this week. I mean,
yeah, I have to agree. You can't beat that usage. You can't beat those targets. I do feel like there's better ahead for Higbee. I did like that he got. So better matchups ahead, better things ahead. I'm not out on Higbee. I will not be.
We're gonna find out real quick if Goddard's week one was just an aberration, or if he is going to consistently be the most targeted and most efficient pass catcher on that team. If he is, then he is 100% a must start and a top 5 tight end this year. He's got that type of receiving chops.
Yeah, no, for sure. We have another tight end question from Kevin S. saying PPR, Goddard or Hearst. We've got a lot of Goddard or questions, and I like this. This is awesome. This is saying the hype that we're all seeing and the usage for Goddard, and just I think also speaking to the receivers that are available for Philadelphia. Goddard's looking really good, so we know.
You know how I feel about Hayden Hearst, though. That's why it makes me cringe to see that name.
More people rallying us up. It's like they know. They've been following us long enough that they know our buttons. Like Higbee, Hearst. What?
Look, Matt Ryan threw for 450 yards in week one. And Hayden Hearst, of that share, got a grand total of 38. Like, I'm not saying he's going to be a complete bum and he won't have a good week or two, but make no mistake, come on. It's not. Hayden Hearst is just a guy. So
just
Goddard,
like any other.
Goddard all day is where I'm going with this.
Oh my God, I love it. It's so good. The only reason to trade Jacobs and Diggs is his first round bust coming back with the reason for that trade. The only reason to trade Jacobs and Diggs for Adams and Brown is if you're a fan of one of those other players. I agree, but I also think this really speaks to game script. And depending on your league, we're all in different, weird, crazy leagues. So if there is a better premium for receivers and you have the opportunity to trade for those guys, I definitely see the reason why. It's just we don't know what your team structure makes up.
I will say that if you're what you're trying to look at when trying to make this trade, if you're saying that game flow concerns you, yes, Diggs could be a victim of game flow if it's a run heavy team and a team with a very good defense too. Could they be taking air out of the ball on a regular basis? Yes, probably. Jacobs, we saw Devontae Booker actually get involved there in Las Vegas. So, is he going to be someone that's going to be the same effective player if they fall behind? Like the Raiders don't have a great defense either. So, what will his role be? Will it change if there is like a week where they fall behind significantly? Whereas Devontae Adams, what you're getting from Devontae Adams week in, week out. And Hollywood Brown, I expect more of the same from Hollywood Brown. That offense is scary.
No, I definitely agree with you there. We've also got I'm not going to say this right, so I apologize now. It's Gorgoroth joining us from Periscope. I'm guessing this is off of Twitter too. Can we expect more from Breda this week? Week one was disappointing. And I'm looking at his schedule, and it's not looking much better. Hopefully there are other options on your team. They've got Buffalo next. They got Jacksonville, which, okay. And then they got Seattle and the Niners and Denver. So I think it's a rough start. Maybe he's someone that's going to see better weeks ahead after these first initial weeks, unless you think otherwise.
Look, I'm going to take week one as a preview of what the rest of the season is going to look like. There were 3 backs that got carries for the Miami Dolphins in week one. Matt Breida saw the fewest. He got out carried by Myles Gaskin. And then not to mention Myles Gaskin caught 4 passes. Matt Breida caught 0. I think the writing's on the wall there. I would stay away from Matt Breida. There's got to be some other options there, either on the waiver wire or maybe someone else on your bench that I would go in a different direction other than Matt Breida. Very concerning, his week one usage.
Yeah, I have to agree. Victor J is saying, Tater, how hot is it in that suit, my guy?
Actually, it's a little cold back here, to be honest with you. So
That's change. You're normally sweating buckets.
I know. I'm trying to, make the 2020 season my most efficient when it comes to my face coloring yet. So
I'll use some makeup. You'd be all right. Victor also saying Swassville. I don't really know what this is a reference to.
Swasty. I have no idea either.
No idea, but we can make it a thing. FTD 34. I have Odell, Crowder, and obviously Diggs. Is that a good enough wide receiver core for a 14-team half PPR league?
I mean, I think it should be okay, even though Odell, gosh almighty, Odell Beckham Jr.
This is the same one that's asking for the trade because he has Josh Jacobs and he wants to acquire Adams and Marquise Brown. I
would stay the course.
Yeah.
Unless you're just loaded at running back. I mean, I would just stay the course with that group right there. I don't think that's that bad for a 14-teamer at all.
No, I agree. I'm in a couple 12, 14, 16-team leagues, and I went to the waiver wire. I was like, oh, I'm diligently actually getting to my waiver wire pickups for week 1, and I looked, and I'm like, nothing. Not even a player that I know, like they're super, super just picked over. Like it's impossible in those leagues. So, I mean, I think that's probably a very strong lineup. But again, this definitely speaks to who you have at running back. I mean, if you have plenty there, maybe trade up and get Adams, but we're good on this. Okay, Kevin S saying, okay, kids, rank the Star Wars movies. How dare you? We will end the show on this. We cannot get that derailed. You guys know we will go off topic.
Yeah, it's gonna take a while, so let's let's save it to the end. Save it to the end.
Write that down really big on my notes to rank. And you know what? For that ranking, I say we only do episodes 1 through 6, just to keep it short.
Okay, I mean that's fine. I hated the new trilogy anyway. I thought it was a piece of. I thought it was a steaming bag of shit that I had to stomp out on my front porch to prevent my entire house from combusting in flames. So yeah, I hated the new trilogy. I hated it. The Last Jedi absolutely ruined it. Damn it! Why did you ask me the Star Wars stuff? Let's stay focused.
Back to football. We've got Dr. KJ Murray joining us, who wrote an awesome article. Guys, if you haven't checked that out, please go and follow him on Twitter and check out the article he wrote. Not to shamelessly brag about ourselves, but it was such a nice article that he wrote about Fantasy Focused and the team. It just gave me all the feels.
You're gonna make me turn red, Kevin. That was fantastic, man. Thank you very much.
Such an awesome article. I mean, I love this community of fantasy football and the fact that everyone's lifting each other up and just spreading the good news that we all are bringing as much as we can to the platform. I mean, thank you so much. Can't thank you enough for it. His question or comment saying, wish I would have gotten some shares of Slayton. I was actually surprised I got as many as I did. And I'm just like, these benches are looking stacked now. Good job, me.
I wish I would have taken Slayton. I kept finding reasons to doubt every single Giants receiver. I was like, it could be him. It could be him. It could be him. And I just now I don't have one share of Slayton, and I feel like I should have more. Son of a bitch.
You're looking at your plate and you're saying, I wish I got more Slayton on.
Right. Yep.
But
can't go back. Can't. The toothpaste is already out of the tube. Can't squirt that shit back in there.
Nope, absolutely not. Can't do it. Victor Jays, would you trade Danny Dimes? Would I trade him away or would I trade for him? I think it would depend on who I have at quarterback and depending on the league. So if it's a super flex league and I have the opportunity and my second quarterback is just not working out, maybe I would trade for him. Just depends on what the offer is. I think there are better, days ahead win-wise. I think that, again, he played so well against a tough defense. Speaks to, he's getting it under his belt. I think he's going to be a thing, as much as I don't like the Giants.
Well, look, it does depend on your league. And I don't know if you're trading for or trading away Danny Dimes. I don't think that the market's too high after his week 1 performance, even though I thought he did some nice things. I would try to acquire him if possible. I think that the best is yet to come for Danny Dimes in 2020. So, but I did get an offer though. You mentioned Superflex Dynasty, and I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I do want to get this question out real quick. Someone offered me Cortland Sutton in a Dynasty league for Matthew Stafford, in a Superflex league though. So I mean, you can start 2 quarterbacks every week, which is obviously quite valuable, but Stafford is 30 something years old, 32, 33, somewhere around there. And, Sutton is an ascending talent, even though he's not playing right now. Just kind of curious on that. That's an interesting trade in a super flex.
That is. I would say, who else do you have at quarterback though?
Aaron Rodgers, Cam Newton, Deshaun Watson, and Tua Tagovailoa.
Okay, so you've got a lot of youth there. You can afford to trade away Stafford. So you've kind of bogarted a lot of quarterbacks, Tate. What are you doing to your poor league mates?
Well, it's a super flex league. I want to have options at quarterbacks.
I want to have all the quarterbacks.
I got to stockpile them. Come on.
I'm going to put them in a row of my favorite and look at them.
Tua's not playing yet, though.
No, but also that shows a good range of age that you already have. And for a dynasty league, that's what you want to build going forward. So I think, especially with the combo of Tua and Watson, I really like that going forward as well. I think if you had to get rid of one for Sutton, I could see that. I don't think Sutton's going to go away just because he's injured. I don't think he's done. This is not a player that he's too young for that to happen to. So if you like Sutton a lot, and I know that you do, I don't think that's a bad trade. But
it's not a bad trade. It's just in a super flex, it does make me go, I don't know how much I really want to trade away a top 15 quarterback.
I think that I would ask for a pick as well, just because you're getting an injured player that you have no ability to start now, and he's going to be able to start Stafford immediately. So I would ask for a little bit more. Just try and squeak out whatever you can.
I know, just tweak it a little bit. I got you.
And Kevin is saying he's tormenting us with these Star Wars questions because it's in honor of the Mandalorian trailer that just came out, season 2. Not that we are sponsored by Disney Plus, but if we get that sponsorship, we absolutely would. Go watch the Mandalorian if you haven't already.
It's really damn good. It's some of the best Star Wars work that they've done since they've become a part of Disney. So yeah, go watch the Mandalorian.
It's so freaking good. I'm gonna have to rewatch it. I don't even know when season 2 is gonna start, but I have to rewatch it. So exciting. Victor J is asking me what choice of wine. It's red. I can tell you that. This one is a red. I think it's a cab, but I didn't really honestly read the bottle. It was just I had it in the house. So if this was bourbon and you were asking me, I could tell you everything about that bourbon. When it comes to wine, it's either red or it's white. I'm classic.
Well, then you and I have the same taste in wine because I just go by the colors.
Yeah, and I'm like, sometimes it's sweet, sometimes it's dry. I don't know. It's wine.
Can we not talk about? I can't drink right now. I'm at work. In fact, I've got about 20 minutes until I've got a daily depart. So get the questions in right now.
We'll get the rest of these questions in really quick, and then we'll touch on some of these other injuries. And then very quickly, I just want to hear a couple bright spots for tomorrow's game, even though I'm not excited about it as a Steelers fan. Bengals, Browns, what are you going to do? But let's get to a couple more of these, and then we will wrap up these injuries. Dried Ocean, bold take, Allen will finish top 4 at QB. I don't think that's too spicy of a take. I think it's like a medium to whatever the next one is. I don't think it's that crazy.
Didn't we talk about last week when we did our bold predictions that I said that Allen would finish as a top 2 fantasy quarterback?
You did say that, and I was like, that's too spicy.
I mean, week 1 he looked pretty good. So
I'm not saying that he didn't, but I just think the caliber
top 2 is a little bit aggressive.
Jackson outweighs him in that second position for me.
I know. I agree.
But top 4, I don't think that's crazy. I could totally see it happening.
By the way, Russell Wilson looked pretty damn good too. So
Victor Jays has Hines was sniped for $21 free agency dollars over my. That's brutal. I hate that. I'm kind of dreading looking at our waiver wire from one of my leagues. We have waiver wire Wednesdays. We do it weird. We make it Wednesday nights at 6 so we can all just talk shit on our Slack chat. And so I'm trying not to look, but I was trying to get a linebacker, and my league is full of sharks. And again, this is IDP, which is why I'm going for a linebacker. But I put bids in on 6, and I would not be surprised if I didn't get one. That's how crazy this bidding is on these things. So I feel your pain, Victor. I'm dreading looking at that to see if I got my guy.
See, for guillotine, I'm doing a guillotine with some of my other friends, and
you have other friends?
I do. I hate to break it to everybody. I do have other friends, believe it or not. It's hard to believe. But we have $1,000 worth of free agent money, so we could avoid ties on the same amount of bids.
because guillotine is a league. Whoever the lowest scoring team is that week gets axed from the league. You're done. You're gone. You're out. So when we drafted, I had a little bit of bad luck with the 2 running backs that I selected. I took Rojo and Kerryon Johnson, and after that happened, they signed Leonard Fournette and Adrian Peterson. So I kind of got screwed there. So I had to be aggressive when going after a running back. So I dropped $677 of my $1,000 on Jonathan Taylor. That's how much I believe that JT is going to be a top 12 back for the majority of the rest of the season.
That's a lot of money.
It's aggressive. Look, you don't want to be the richest guy in the grave when it comes to a guillotine league. You know, if I try to save my money and I shit the bed this week, then I'm out. So I'd rather swing for the fences early on to make sure I can at least have a chance later on than sit there and not spend money and lose in week 2 or 3.
No, for sure. And that's a great piece of advice that was in amongst all of that too, is like, if you have free agency dollars to spend at the end of the season, you don't want to look back and be the one that still has money left to burn. Right. This was something that a bunch of my league mates had told me when we were first doing the Dynasty League, and I always had money left on the table. They said, Sam, like, you're leaving money on the table for this doesn't make sense. You need to go get your guy. You have to be aggressive. If you want this player, you have to put what you think he's going to go for. And you can't just be sneaky with your bids and trying to snake him away on the cheap. Obviously, you're trying to win. Now, because they drilled that into me so much, they had to create a new rule because I went over our salary cap. So now I'm getting penalized for having too expensive of a team. So thanks, guys.
Mind games. The mind games never stop with your league mates. So
you are the one that told me to spend, and I went and spent my money. Like, don't tell me twice to spend. I will spend my money. And now I'm getting punished. I'm
sorry to hear that while you drink wine and I'm drinking Red Bull. So
we're talking about football. It makes it better. All right. So we got Stefan Cerny, 123, Herndon or Waverfield. I don't want to give him up.
I would keep Herndon for another week.
Yeah. Again,
one more week.
We're speculating and, going back and forth over things where players probably outperform what they will the rest of the season. Hopefully they didn't, but everything can change in week 2. We don't know. I would still hold on to him. Waivers, like we were talking about, can get really slim really quickly. So don't put him out there and then miss out on him later.
Yep.
And Kevin's saying on Hines, he put a $22 bid on him. So I think you guys are all speaking the same language, which is pretty awesome. Victor Jays, I congratulate you guys for being humble on some advice. I mean, I don't feel like, I don't know. I'm not that awesome. Like, I said it in my Instagram handle, but it's because I'm trying to talk myself up.
I mean, I've been humbled more times than I can count when it comes to fantasy football. So I guess I've gotten used to it at this point, Victor.
Yeah. I mean, it's at the end of the day, we're playing a game that's made up. And we're making up the rules as we go. So
sometimes when I talk about what I do to my in-laws and they're like, what's the company you have on the side? Oh, I talk about fake football teams. And they go, it's like that scene in Step Brothers where he goes, I coach a baseball team, a fantasy baseball team. Yeah. Dale Doback, fantasy manager of the year.
So good. The Dale Doback's is a great team name. If you guys haven't done your team names yet, that's also a good one. Kevin S. saying, just in case someone put in $21. I mean, I think that when you're making bids, that's a great point of the single dollar bids. Like, I always go one over a rounded number. I always do. But I also get that playing that game, going the one up, you're just going to mess up one of your other, teammates that's doing the same thing. So you got to hit those fun, random, odd, even numbers to try and get your guy.
Yeah, just stay away from anything that ends in 0. Like, throw a 1, throw a 2, throw any other digit you want to on there. Like, for Jonathan Taylor, just for reference, I actually outbid Levy by $11, $677 to his $666. I don't know why he went with $666. I mean, $666. Couldn't tell you. Levy's just the devil, so I outbid the devil.
Oh my gosh! Well, there you go. And he is quite threatening in all of that. He's got so many leagues. My goodness. First round bus also asking questionable Julio Jones or one of these receivers instead. McLaurin, Thielen, Ridley, Robert Woods, or Aaron Jones. I'm in the money. I don't like seeing a questionable next to Julio Jones as well. I feel like he's someone that they will always play it safe with. It's hard for me to pick a favorite of these because I do love me Robert Woods.
Give me Ridley though.
Ridley,
after his week one, give me Ridley. And in particular, if Julio Jones is limited, if they roll him out there, that's even better for Ridley. If he doesn't play, then his target volume should be very high against the Cowboys, and I expect the Cowboys to put a good amount of points on the Falcons. So again, Matty Ice and the boys should be playing. At least it should be a high-scoring game. I don't know if they'll be playing from behind the whole time, but it should be a high-scoring affair. I'd go with Ridley.
I agree. You got Washington against the Cardinals as well. I mean,
Aaron Jones, though, against the Lions is also that's hard to pass up just because of the touches. Like, take your pick between Aaron Jones and Calvin Ridley. I think they both have a good game.
I agree. I think those are probably my favorites as well, looking at matchups. And you got Vikings against the Colts, but yeah, I don't know. I think those are the strongest bets if Julio sits out. And like Tate said, even if they do happen to just roll Julio out there as just a warm body, it's just going to help Ridley. So yeah, I agree with you there. Detroit Beastie saying, "Hey Sam, I'm your number one fan." Thank you.
Aww.
I didn't know I had number one fans. That's awesome.
Is there a power rankings you're going to give your fans?
Is there what?
A power rankings you're going to give your fans on a weekly basis? I'm kidding. Don't do that to your fans. That's
no, I would never. No, I appreciate this platform so much, and the fact that people even want to hear fantasy advice from me is kind of awesome. So thanks, guys. I appreciate it. We'll continue to try and bring you our A games all the time, even though I forgot why I don't drink a lot of red wine. It is sleeping juice, so I'm gonna fall asleep very quickly tonight.
Well, stay awake for the next 10 minutes because that's what we got left on the show. So get your questions in right now.
Please do. And then we've got this one from First Round Bust. I'm not really sure how to read these emojis.
Something about shit on a fire outside. Oh, shit in a fire on a bat. It's from Billy Madison.
Oh,
it's not a white people thing. It's a Billy Madison thing.
Yeah. It's definitely a Billy Madison.
Oh, there we go. Detroit Beastie. Thank you for clarifying.
Appreciate you. Victor's saying, I got Allen and Danny Dimes. I think that's a solid stack. If that's a super flex league, I like that combo at QB, so that's a good one for you. We've got Fredley Jimenez. Thanks for joining us, Fredley. We love you. Would you trade Marvin Jones or for James White PPR? I need some help at running back.
I mean, I don't think that there's anything wrong with it. I mean, they're both kind of more so flex options. So if you need the help at running back in a PPR, then yeah, I'd be okay with trading him. I just think that Marvin Jones is going to have a until Kenny Golladay gets back up to speed, I think you're going to get some very good weeks from Marvin Jones. I just don't know how I feel about James White moving forward, but if you need the help at running back, that would make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this one from Dread Ocean. Tater hoarding all the quarterbacks like people with toilet paper.
I sit on my throne of toilet paper and my quarterbacks in a league. It's
all together and they're all
the place to be. You boys got any TP? Sorry.
That's amazing. All right. Will Jenkins saying full PPR, Kareem Hunt, Austin Eckler, or Raheem must start.
Give me Raheem Mostert. Give me Mostert. Come on. Like, if we're talking about the fact that the 49ers are going to have no one to throw to and they're, give me the fact that Mostert's going to catch the ball 4 times, 3 to 4 times a game. Yeah, I like Mostert and an offense that they should kick the hell out of the Jets. So in particular this week, give me Mostert.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Of those 3, I have to pick them as well. Although I think that Hunt could see a good game against the Bengals. I feel like they're a bit of a mixed bag. I feel like, that offense runs through the running game, and Mostert is going to see a lot of targets. He's going to be an asset in the throwing game.
Really, really, really interesting that Kareem Hunt saw more carries than Nick Chubb. And of course, his involvement in the passing game was more so than Chubb. Like, I know the game flow was wacky because the Ravens just shellacked the Cleveland Browns, but I'm curious moving forward if Hunt is the running back to own there. I guess we'll find out within the next couple of weeks.
Oh, we absolutely will, especially in tomorrow's night's game. And then Victor J saying, I'm guessing this has to do with Star Wars Episode 3 all the time.
I'm going episode 5. The Empire Strikes Back. That's my favorite. That's the GOAT of the entire series for me.
Yeah, no, I'm actually in full agreement with you there. Number 5 is the GOAT. I mean, it's just the most beautifully shot one as well. So if you're just looking like artistically, it's a gorgeous movie. Kevin is saying,
pecan, Yoda, everything.
it's too good.
It's the GOAT.
Right. We've got Kevin S. with a football question. Your outlook for Miles Sanders in week 2.
I mean, hopefully he's 100% healthy. Hopefully they held him out for a reason. Make sure that they didn't rush him back so he, aggravates that hamstring injury. Hopefully. I expect that he'll probably finish at the low end of the top 15. So I'd probably modestly rank him. I still think that they're going to rotate in, a mix of Boston Scott and Corey Clement. But, I'm okay rolling him as a low-end running back 1 or high-end RB2.
Yeah, I like that. Sticking with the Eagles, Gorgoroth with this one. Thoughts on Wentz and Eagles offensive line? Can they improve, or should I be fading Wentz? Wentz did not look good.
It wasn't Wentz's fault. I mean, there were some error throws on his part, but I mean, good Lord, he was under siege, like 8 sacks. I mean, Sam, I said this in the live show on Sunday. I wouldn't have been shocked if the Eagles ran for fewer than 70 yards, and they ran for like 59 or 61 or something like that. And Chase Young, when you get a difference maker at defensive end or outside linebacker, edge rusher, one that can just be a problem all game long, then it changes your defense like that. So I think the Eagles offensive line will be okay. It's just that they ran into a buzzsaw and a very talented group up front there in Washington. Yeah,
no, I agree. I mean, this week against the Rams, they have obviously Aaron Darnold. So I feel like he could, snack on some Carson Wentz as well in snack attack. So if you have other options at quarterback, I would think about those. Obviously, it depends on who you have, but it's not going to be tons easier against Los Angeles, I don't think.
Yeah, if you have other options in Wentz, I'm okay with that. I didn't think he played. I think he could have played better, and I think the Eagles will be better. But yeah, not very encouraging from what you saw from that unit up front.
Yeah, absolutely. And Victor J's with this one: Jimmy G or Breeze? I think I have to go Breeze here. I mean, that the offense is completely run on the ground with the Niners, and so he's capped at his potential there for throws, targets, all of it. Where Breeze, if he just has a slow start, and will pick it up with probably breaking another record in receptions and completions and all that by the end of the season. So I have to pick Breeze there.
Yeah, I don't mean this. I'm not kidding. I mean, who is Jimmy G throwing to? I mean, you really don't have a lot of very good options. I mean, no offense. It's in particular if George Kittle doesn't play. A lot of inexperience. Of course, they'll be fine. Screen passes. Shanahan will dial up certain plays, but you don't have a lot of playmakers on the outside. Even without Michael Thomas, I still like Drew Brees more.
Yeah, I agree completely. All right, I'll just try and get to 2 more, and then we will talk a little bit about tomorrow's game, and then we'll wrap it up because we have to get you back to work.
I know. I'm sorry.
Back to work. We've had so many awesome people tuning in with great questions. Yes. Thank you so much. This has been awesome. We've got Dried Ocean with, I feel like Allen is guaranteed at least 200 yards, 1 passing and 1 rushing TD as a floor. I don't think that that's crazy. I think that he's got so much potential across all those. And those are, I think, the lowest stats you could, if you got those in 1 week, you'd be happy. But I think he's going to exceed those expectations.
It hurts my soul as a Devin Singletary believer. But yeah, Josh Allen, I think he's going to lead all quarterbacks in rushing touchdowns this year. I would not be surprised one bit if he hits double digits. That's how dominant he is on the ground. Like he's like a poor man's Cam Newton. So yeah, I'm on board with that, Dried Ocean.
Down for it. Victor J is saying, Tater, I'm taking your advice for only 35 times this Sunday. I don't know what that means, but it sounds like he's taking a lot of your advice. You had some great calls this week.
Well, thank you. Mike Evans, he almost got blanked.
Was solid.
He almost got blanked.
Yeah.
Better days are ahead, though. I did some film review on it, and I'm going to drop that episode this week. But better days are ahead for Mike Evans. He's not running into Marshawn Lattimore every day, so don't worry about that.
Speaks to those cornerback matchups and just the defense that they're playing. It's important to know these guys, not just know that these defenses are strong. It's important to also know these amazing playmakers on defense that are going to shut down your number one receivers.
Or make life very, very difficult. Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to pay attention to them, and also pay attention to the injury reports for opposing secondary players, safeties, cornerbacks. Those will kind of give you little tidbits and maybe some better options as far as you're trying to throw a dart later in the season on bye weeks. Like, pay attention to those defensive injury reports.
Absolutely. All right, I'm just going to pull a couple more of these really quick. We've got Wentz or Tannehill going forward rest of the season. Which do you pick?
I still believe in Wentz, but I got to tell you, a healthy Corey Davis, which I know he's back on the injury report dealing with a hamstring injury, but boy, did he look good. He looked like the Corey Davis that they expected when they spent a top 10 pick on him. And if you get that Corey Davis with the rest of those pass catchers, give me Tannehill. But I just believe that Carson Wentz is the better quarterback. I think that once they get healthier, as far as Miles Sanders and the rest of the group, maybe even up front, Carson Wentz will be just fine. It's just rough week one. It
was a rough week one. And again, this is week one hype. I feel like at season long, I would rather have Wentz as well. It's going to get better. It gets better. It has to get better. Absolutely.
I hope so.
Okay, another one, 2 QBs to pick between Minshu or Wentz week one. I mean, the Minshew mania was real, but they are against the Titans, who had a solid defense. So that's a bit closer for me.
So give me Wentz. I get it. I understand that Minshew played really well, and they upset the Colts. And I really liked what I saw from Laviska Shenault Jr. And, DJ Chark had a deep pass interference call, so his stat line was a little bit deceiving. Minshew's going to be a top 20 quarterback for the rest of the season, fantasy-wise. Hate to break it to everybody, he is, but I still think Wentz has a little bit higher ceiling, and I like him a little bit more, even in week 2 against the Rams.
Yeah,
I don't know if you agree. I think you want to go with Minshew mania.
I'm gonna go with Minshew on this one. I think that Aaron Donald is just gonna absolutely chew up and spit out Carson Wentz. So for this week, if I had to pick between the two, I'm gonna go with Minshew. He just clearly had the magic to make it happen. And like you said, I feel like he's tearing up that game script. Don't tear up your notes.
I know. Damn it.
Hold back. I think that Minshew is playing for a job, and I think that he's going to get it. But we've got a couple ones really quick, and then we'll just briefly touch on Bengals Browns, and then we will get you out of here. First round bus saying, first time here, it was incredibly enjoyable and loose. It was probably the wine and the Red Bull. Thanks.
Oh yeah, the Red Bull gets me all juiced up and all nice and loosey goosey. I'm gonna have a hell of a second sportscast tonight.
Oh my gosh, it's gonna be wild. There's gonna be some isms, I'm sure, of yours. Really quick, let's just go down these 2 injuries that we hadn't talked about: Michael Thomas and Phillip Lindsay. Michael Thomas, obviously, I mean, he's their franchise wide receiver 1. They're gonna play it safe with him this week. Do you see him starting?
Hell no. I think that you're gonna see Michael Thomas probably on the shelf for probably 2 weeks minimum, if not probably more so 4 to 5.
Yeah.
High ankle sprains, they're nothing to mess around with. Even like the freakiest of freaks in Saquon Barkley last year had that high ankle sprain, was predicted to be out 4 to 8 weeks, came back like right around week 4. But it lingers. Those injuries linger. So I hope that they sit Michael Thomas for 2 weeks, because you do not want to roll him into your starting lineup if he's not 100% healthy and can barely move.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then, so the immediate beneficiaries of those targets, Emmanuel Sanders, but Jared Cook as well. I think he has to take an uptick on a lot of our charts. And when you're ranking our tight ends for week 2, he's going to take a jump because of those targets. Quickly, Phillip Lindsay also dinged up. Melvin Gordon immediately, he was already looking pretty good. I mean, you got the good and you got the bad, but that's what you're going to get with Melvin Gordon. He had a fumble. So that's not going to, I think, go away. That's kind of built into his repertoire. So I do think that Melvin Gordon is the guy. Obviously, they said it was his job before. but Philip Lindsay could miss a few weeks.
So I'm hoping that, again, that's turf toe. Turf toe injuries for a running back are a nightmare. Same thing with when it happens to receivers, tight ends, et cetera, to skill position players, because they need their feet to be at 100%, in particular their toes, to be able to plant and make cuts. But for Melvin Gordon, when Philip Lindsay is out of the lineup, you bet your ass that I'm going to have him as a top 12 option at running back every week. I mean, him and Philip Lindsay were pretty much splitting the work 50-50 before he got hurt. That's not going to be the case with Royce Freeman. We're going to see the Melvin Gordon show however long Philip Lindsay's on the shelf. So start him with confidence. In DFS, he is a big play of mine this week.
Absolutely. And then this last one's going to take us into the Thursday night game. Njoku is out, and he was the player for Cleveland that was able to score a touchdown. So not looking great for them. I mean, Beckham did have 10 targets, but it was for 3 receptions, 22 yards, nothing to get excited about there, really. Where is the bright spot? Where is a player on the Browns specifically that you are starting tomorrow, if you have them?
Where's the light at the end of the tunnel is where you're asking me. Oh God, for the Browns. I'm checking out on this team, but I will say if there's 2 guys that I feel confident starting, it would be the 2 running backs. If you have Chubb or even Kareem Hunt, they're both definitely 100% flex worthy, if not like high end running back 2s in PPR formats in particular. I'm okay with both of them. The Browns are a much better football team when they give Nick Chubb the ball, and both running backs last week, Kareem Hunt averaged 5.5 yards per carry, and Chubb averaged 6. He had 10 carries for 60 yards. Yeah. I mean, they are not going to be playing from behind against the Cincinnati Bengals all that much. I think that we're going to see, Joe Burrow continue to have his rookie lumps. By the way, though, if you're
came back so strong, like he looked like a good veteran quarterback, Burrow did, and then the kicker just let them down.
Well, the kicker, and I thought it was kind of a bogus, pretty ticky-tacky offensive pass interference call against A.J. Green. That really should have been the go-ahead score. But I will say this, though. Burrow did have his moments where he looked like a rookie. His pass protection was breaking down, which meant that his eyes were dropping and scrambling way quicker than I used to see him back at LSU. And he also, on the same drive, missed John Ross and A.J. Green for a long tutty. In fact, the A.J. Green one was ugly. He missed a layup. It was an easy walk-in 40-yard tutty or something like that, and he just completely missed him. So, but the safety play for the Cleveland Browns was really bad this past week. I mean, really bad. Andrew Sandejo and Carl Joseph, not good. So I expect that Burrow's going to get one big play, whether it's to John Ross or A.J. Green, but I still think that the Browns are going to be able to impose their will and run the football very, very effectively against that Bengals unit.
I feel like this could be a high-scoring game, or this could be a very evenly matched game, very boring. For me, I hope it's high-scoring and we all get fantasy points wherever we want them. Do you think that Austin Hooper could see an uptick with Njoku out?
I hope so. I mean, I hope there's life for all of these Cleveland pass catchers because they're all good. They're all so talented. Jarvis Landry and Odell, when he has his head removed from his ass. And then Austin Hooper, I like Austin Hooper. It's just that, man, week 1 was just rough for Baker Mayfield and the rest of that offense. I mean, you really got to start to get worried about Baker.
You do. And I think of the Heisman Trophy winners that we're going to see compete tomorrow. I think that Burrow's going to pull out the win. I mean, we saw, him get his head down and get it down to the wire. They were breathing down the neck of a win, and he was going to break the record and finally be the rookie that started a week 1 game and get the win, but he couldn't do it because the kicker absolutely blew the kick. So I think that that's going to be enough to drive this guy who's a crazy competitor to make sure he gets the win this week.
See, I just think that the Bengals still have a lot of issues up front.
I agree. I'm just saying the fight, I think, is stronger in Burrow than it is in Mayfield. I feel like Mayfield looks like he's been kicked in the teeth.
I'm cheering for Joe Burrow and the Bengals. My head is telling me that they don't have an answer for Myles Garrett. So that's more so the thing that I hope it's a good high-scoring game, though, for all fantasy purposes.
Yeah. For all parents. And then, I just hope the Steelers win again. But off of that, it up. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in. And if you have any additional start-sit questions, please go ahead and tune in every Sunday morning. We will be there to answer those lineup questions. That is all we will do, is answer your questions so you can get those lineups set for Sunday. We talked DFS a bit too. I actually won like $60 this past week on DFS.
That's pretty good. I hit one on monkeyknifefight.com, by the way, if you haven't done so. Check it out. It's great for like NFL prop bets and stuff of that nature. So if you have a good bead on whether you think a player is going to throw for more or less of a specific amount, if projections is kind of your thing, check that out. And when you create an account and make your first deposit of $50 or more, monkeyknifefight.com will match it up to $50 when you use the promo code FOCUS. So check it out. I actually hit on one of those 6 for 6 for you get 35 times your buy-in. I hit on one of those and I was one away on 3 different games. So I was doing pretty damn good. It's just that James Conner was the one that screwed me in the Steelers game because he got hurt.
I'm sorry about that. But yeah. I do have a lot of Benny Snell on a lot of my leagues because I thought he might get hurt. So anyways, we will wrap it up. Thanks again, guys, for joining us. Have a wonderful
What's the answer to this question, though, real quick?
Okay, wait. Go-to late night movie. Clueless. I'm going to go with Clueless. I can throw that on anytime. And I don't have to finish it. Like, if I want to go to bed, I will. But I love that movie. I can quote the whole thing.
Kelly hates it, but it's Mortal Kombat for me.
I am not surprised in the slightest.
Those were $500 sunglasses, asshole. Yeah. All right. Sign us off. Let's do it.
You're crazy. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in. If you want to follow Tate, he is at dtater4 on all forms of social media. I am at Samantha R. Holt on Twitter and at Sam_awesome on Instagram. Please hit subscribe if you haven't already. We hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Thank you
So much for tuning in, spreading the good word of all that we do here. And please, if you haven't, hit subscribe. We love it. We appreciate you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday or Wednesday. I forgot what day it is. See, it's the wine. I'm blaming the wine. Set those lineups. We got a game tomorrow. Have a great night.
Whoopsie.